hit it.
All right, now we are live on Facebook. I didn't see the live on Facebook. Q, how are you guys?
I did not either.
It's all good.
All right, well, welcome aboard, everyone. Obviously, we're about 30 minutes after our normal start time and 1 day after our normal start time. We've got an abbreviated schedule for the next month or so. And so tonight we're going to be talking about unpacking the calls for Pashinyan's resignation. That's the biggest thing on our plate right now. There's obviously a lot of political turmoil we're going to be talking about. We're going to talk about the POW situation, and we're going to touch on some U.S. politics. Tonight we're going to be our benefactor, or we're going to be trying to raise money for the Armenian Wounded Heroes Fund, which is a great cause that we've been working on for months now. I think, David, do you know how much we have raised in the past few months of doing fundraising?
Yes, absolutely. It's over $6,300 since November 1st, I believe, and a large portion of that has been for Armenian wounded heroes. Obviously, we owe our lives. We owe the nation. The nation owes this immense debt of gratitude to all of the soldiers and volunteers that fought to protect Artsakh and Armenia. Many of them wounded, many fallen, many still missing, which we're going to get to in a little bit here. So yes, we appreciate everyone's support of Armenian wounded heroes tonight.
Yeah. Well, obviously there's a lot of work to do tonight and moving forward in the next few months. Tonight there's some big stuff happening. It's been developing 4 months, and there have been plenty of calls for Pashinyan's resolution for a number of reasons, and Greg is going to be good enough to help line that all out. There's again a lot to talk about. Greg, where would you like to start?
I mean, thank you guys. Good to see you. Sorry I was absent last week, but Lent started. I'm committed to my deacon duties. Thank you all for letting us speak on this very important matter. Thank you everybody that's listening for being interested enough and concerned enough to hear the talk on what's going on. So obviously there's some concerning things coming out of Armenia. I would like to set up what is going on rather than just to dive into what today happened. So there was like a cascade of interviews, right? Obviously the post November 9 capitulation, there's a lot of tension. There's a lot of push for the resignation of Pashinyan, the prime minister of Armenia. There were two major kind of former presidential interviews, Kocharan and Sarkisian. And President Pashinyan, Prime Minister Pashinyan, thought it was important for him to kind of rebuttal those interviews by doing his own interview, in which he, I don't know if it was accidentally or just, in his way of speaking, criticized the military equipment that is in our position that is produced by Russia, particularly the missile called Iskander, which is a precision-guided surface-to-surface missile. In that conversation, he has revealed a lot of things that we thought was a hearsay, but now you heard it from the, from the Richard Day, what is it, from the mouth of the, like, what's the saying? Straight from, like from the king in the horse's mouth. From the horse's mouth. Thank you.
Thank you.
For example, the reason why the Iskander conversation even started was the reporter, who was definitely favorable reporter to Pashinyan. It was almost like a PR ploy, if you ask me. But even that guy was like turning red hearing what Pashinyan was answering. The question was posed as, dear Prime Minister, why wasn't this XYZ used in the defense of Shushi as the enemy was advancing? In which point Pashinyan goes into this criticism of Iskander, a very touted, very important, high precision surface-to-surface missile system, angering Russia because he publicly said that that system has only an accuracy level, get this, of 10%. Number one, today somebody came out saying that that is also a revelation that he has to be a spy, because we don't know what the precision of our attacks were, because we don't have spies on the ground when we hit a target in deep inside of Azerbaijan. We don't know what the precision is. So how can he know when even the high command doesn't know? Number one. Number two, you can imagine the MOD of Russia came out in full force. He's screwing our partnership. He's
Well, for
screwing
sure.
their ability to sell their weapons. It's like,
Yeah.
it's like you're talking about like a bad product in a neighborhood that knows this one dealer. You know what I mean? Like, again, sorry for the low blow here, but who I'll get off my my what do you call it, my soapbox in one sec. What was happening was this: in the interview, he was able to mouth off and immediately undermine our military, the Russian equipment, and reveal that yes, we didn't use the weapon systems because XYZ, the weapons suck. And in reality, everybody knows that during the offensive on Shushi, there was a call to stand down. So that all culminated in the what do you call it? The defense minister with the letters of 40 generals and colonels of the Armenian military asking for his resignation. So this is where we are. So we have, on one hand, we have Nikol Pashinyan, and on the other hand, we have Onik Ohanyan, which is the defense minister of Armenia and the chief of the the military high command. So here's what we are, and we can, if you have any questions.
Yeah, no, Greg,
yeah.
this is an escalation, correct? In terms of
Yes.
who's calling for the resignation of the prime minister. We've seen it from the likes of the opposition leadership to the churches, both churches, right? Achmiatsin and Cilicia, major global Armenian organizations like HBU, and then now it is even the military leadership, which is not his government. These are not all people he appointed, correct? Or are they all?
Actually, I'll push back on that. What it is, actually, it's a very interesting aspect. The minute that he came into power, so the army has been bastardized. We see all the atrocities going on in Sunik with the military not even there, right? So the first thing that Pashinyan, while we were all like engulfed in the awesomeness of the soft change with Justin Trudeau and what do you call it, Charles Aznavour's death and everything that we were kind of front and center, behind the scenes what was happening is he was dismantling the Armenian military, right? So today's military that's asking for his resignation is already the replaced military, fully appointed by none other than Nikol Pashinyan.
Okay. So this is a very big point, and I want to shed some light on something because I don't want to veer too far off the point and too far away from the international aspect of it, because it seems like most of the international news outlets are picking this up as though this is some military coup that is causing disruption, and that is not what's happening. What my understanding is, and maybe you could shed some light on this, is that the military is stepping in to say, listen, we need to stabilize this place, and you are the one who's destabilizing this. So when we get rid of you, or when you step down, there's got to be some sort of law and order, and we will, shut this down for a minute until real elections happen and we level set.
By the way,
right?
Absolutely. By the way, another tidbit, and I'm being facetious here. It's like it's a bit major thing. Again, in that interview, the man had the right to open his mouth and say that Shushi was always Azeri populated. Okay, so I don't know who has any love for this man. Clearly, we saw a little bit of a support come out for him, but this is some wicked stuff, y'all.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, like even if his heart was in the right place, which I don't know, it just seems like a colossal blunder. You have to know who's buttering your bread right now, and for lack of a better way of putting it, and Russia, like them or not, like Putin or not, if he's the one holding the walls up, you better do what you can for him.
Yeah, Rich, you bring up such an important point. He's continuing to criticize Russia. And his quote, by the way, in that interview, saying, let him ask why, in referring to the former president, Serge Sarkisian's claim that the Armenian military did not adequately use the Iskander missiles. He's saying, let him ask why the fired Iskander did not explode, or why it exploded by, say, 10%. What does that mean? What the hell does that mean? Excuse my language.
That means, first of all, he's alluding as if he has information. We don't have precision information on where things fall and how they fall, unless somebody in Baku is feeding him that information. So that's number one. Number two is, notice his style of attack is always to push things away from, deflect from myself, deflect from my failures. So this is yet another part of our society, part of our government that he's now pushing an agenda on, which is the military.
He went further and said maybe it's a weapon of the 1980s. So again,
Rich, can you please pull up the Wikipedia article if I may add?
While Rich is doing that, just to echo Rich's point, Russia is virtually the sole guarantor of Artsakh's security and Armenia's security, and here you are insulting their missile systems, their military equipment.
This man is proving time and time again, that he has no care for the Armenian nation, the Armenian country. Yeah, this is none other than a Wikipedia article. Rich, can you slow down right there?
No, hold on. I'm gonna go right here for a second so you can see the thing closer.
Yeah.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
So this is the weapon in what do you call it, behind
in question.
In question. Thank you. And in the Wikipedia article, you can see clearly the time that it started going into force, which was, it was developed in '96, and it was to the right up top you will see like service, time of service. If you go up, service history 2006 to present. Okay. So the man really doesn't know what he's talking about. And we're one of like 3 armies that are utilizing that. It has nothing to do with the guy is dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, Russia supplied the Iskanders in 2015 to Armenia themselves, and they claim that they are highly precise. So it's very, very strange.
Yeah. Absolutely. And the issue is maybe they have a 10% degree of variance. I don't know. I'm not a military expert, and now the issue is such. The issue is that after the ministry said he needs to stand down, Pashinyan tried to fire Oni Gohanyan, and he did not stand down. So this is that tension point. Like he was like, no. So now it's kind of in limbo. I guess he's staying. The other thing that's needed to be pointed out, obviously, by the way, I do not like Radio Free Europe. They are a CIA pawn, and there's been a known thing. But I understand. Notice again what they're pandering. Thousands rally for Pashinyan rather than Armenia's military is being dismembered.
Right. Greg, while you're on that point, it was the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Armenia released the statement, right, demanding the resignation with all the others backing him, right?
40 generals and colonels, essentially the entire army. Okay.
Right. So the statement that was made, it continued with the armed forces patiently tolerated the attacks aimed at discrediting the armed forces by the current government, but everything has its limits. So that was part of the quote. The armed forces not only called for Pashinyan, but the entire government's resignation.
Yeah, because they are failing the country.
Right.
Nobody, by the way, nobody here is talking about what's happening with Sunik. Nobody here is talking about what is happening with our POWs, which, by the way, there was a bombshell that was dropped the other day when we thought, like,
talk about that in a minute, Greg.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna get to it.
So
it's way more than was thought, right, Greg? So we'll get to that. Yeah.
Bottom line is this: here we are now. We had two major rallies today. The anti-Pashinyan or the opposition rally, right, in support of the military, and we had the obviously Pashinyan did what a populist knows how to do, surrounded with 3 layers of cops at each side, even during the procession. If you look at any of the photos, notice the guys in blue, like always around.
Right. Around him.
It's no longer that velvet revolution, which, by the way, today he kind of ushered in its end. Like now there's a next phase of it. He famously now said that the velvet revolution is entering a new phase. I don't know what
Said that.
is.
He said that. He
Yeah,
said that.
yeah.
Real quick, just everyone knows, Velvet Revolution is how Pashinyan came to power. It was a peaceful revolution that overthrew the former, very corrupt Serge Sarkisian as president, who was going to be self-made prime minister. Right? It was peaceful, but now this seems like just the exact opposite that's unraveling around him. But yeah, like you said, he's still calling for the populace to support him. And immediately after this, called for everyone to meet in Republic Square to support him. Right? Go ahead, Greg. I was just going to give that context.
No, I mean and then there's obviously so again in terms of understanding the fallout around the incident, you can understand what's happening left and right, right? So the big vocal kind of like, oh my God, what is this? Some kind of a catch-22 situation? Is immediately the Ankara and Baku, Aliyev himself, reach out and say, we are worried for Armenia's state of democracy.
Yep.
Okay. If this does not, like, I don't know, move you a little bit in terms of who Pashinyan answers to, essentially it's Aliyev kind of vouching for his boy. Okay. Why would you not like a guy that openly says that Shushi is not Armenian? Why would you not like a guy that we will find out one day wholesale gave that city to Azerbaijan? Okay, this is not the episode for that, but that was really striking for me.
Yeah, no, Greg, it's a good point, because look, we're seeing Turkey play the political game that they do very, very well, much better than Armenia. And they come out saying, oh, we're concerned for the democracy of Armenia. We hope that it's peaceful, it remains peaceful. The protests, they're playing a game, man. We know that, right? And then Aliyev as well. So yeah,
well,
I don't know, Rich.
I think you're right about that. They do play that game better than us, and sadly, and I think my quote on that is that a thug in a suit is still a thug.
There you go.
But they're exceptional at it, and I'm not trying to play them up or anything. It's irritating and frustrating.
Beyond, right, Rich? After what they've done to Artsakh and Armenia just in the last few months, now they're coming out pretending to be concerned about Armenia's democracy, right?
Well, yeah, and that's the thing is that for those that don't understand the nuances of what's been going on in this region, the funny thing for me is that for months, many of us were blasting, saying, "Pay attention, help us out." Actually, I could say for years we've been doing that, but certainly for the past handful of months. And it's largely fallen on deaf ears because most people don't understand. But what they do understand is someone saying, "Hey, we should chill out. We're going to urge some calm. We're going to, that's a language they can understand." And so sadly, the people that they're going to be listening to are the Turks and the Azeris, who are saying, "Oh, well, we're concerned about democracy," but they're the ones that started the fight in the first place.
Exactly. We're seeing some other statements, and this is frustrating. I'm sure you guys would agree, from the United States, the embassy in Armenia, the European Union, NATO, the OSCE, urging calm in Armenia because of all these protests that have, you have both sides, like you said, Greg, right? You have the opposition protests, which it feels like they're growing by the day, many, many thousands. And then there are still protesters in support of Pashinyan. And now we happen to see these statements. Where were these statements this quickly during the war? You guys.
Well said, because that is the point here. And actually, I was talking to you before we went on air. Somebody on Instagram posted, "Hey, everybody, beware, soon the Western media is going to start talking about Armenia's democracy," as if this girl like predicted what happened like a few hours later. Where was this? And I'm not going to ask for where was it, but isn't it odd that the same institutions that said nothing about Islamist mercenaries coming into Azerbaijan via a NATO ally through Georgian airspace, that, what do you call it, a country was attacked during COVID when everybody signed this, like, we will not start wars during a pandemic pact. None of that cared. are egregious attacks on a human civilian life. That Lebanese woman, Maral, is still imprisoned, and nobody, OSCE,
Well,
U.S. State Department,
she's still
nobody,
missing. We don't know what happened to her,
we
which
don't
is
know.
probably even worse. If at least we knew she was in prison, it'd be one thing.
Yeah, it's
So
awful.
what I'm
I
trying
mean
to
to
say,
derail you.
like, if ever there is a third world country out there hinging their on the salvation of the larger Western organizations, please look at the Armenian example and try to forge your own thing in your life, because they mean nothing, and I'm just gonna stick with it. Third party in here, Putin. Obviously, his reaction was very, in my opinion, level-headed. It was like, right now, this is a matter of an internal, internal dispute. Clearly, he doesn't like Pashinyan, but Pashinyan's known to be sucking up to the man now, right? He personally doesn't like him, but he could use him however. He could be a very, like, a perfect fool for Putin if he needs him now, right? Um, so it's a horrible situation. Any which way you look at it,
Yeah,
this person needs to
it's
go. The
beyond
government needs to go.
frustrated. There are no words again, and it's really. I hope it doesn't become more. I mean, civil unrest is one thing. I hope there's no violence. I hope there's no further militarizing of the state and of the police, and that becomes violent. But clearly there's a lot of turmoil.
Well, yeah, and I mean, we could frame this a whole lot of ways. I mean, I hope that there's no violence either, because what's going to end up happening, and just like Greg mentioned, a conversation where the person seemed clairvoyant. Here's my call. What's going to happen is, if anything does happen on the ground there, and if there is any violence, the Turks in these areas are going to be able to say, "Gosh, it's a shame those people are just unwinding and whatever."
Yep.
Uh, and meanwhile, they're the people that started. It's like somebody starting a bar fight and calling someone names and poking them in the chest and smacking them around a little bit. And then when they finally retaliate and they get into an argument with the person they're with about the fact that they're in this altercation, someone goes, "Look, that guy's starting a fight." Well, that guy didn't start the fight.
No, that's that, and here you go. This is like gaslighting 101.
Right.
Number one. Number two, the other thing is, I used to think that nobody notices Armenian affairs. I'm changing my mind right now. They see what's happening to us. They see our murders, our genocides. Everybody knows and understands. It's the choice of what to do. That's the
Exactly.
kind of the key. Because
Exactly.
all of the OSCE, SHMOSCE, UN, EU, they're all sitting there quiet, not because they don't care about Armenians, but there's like an agenda here.
Greg,
I'm
the
clearly seeing it now.
100%, and that's been one of the most upsetting things that we've realized from this war, I would say. And I've learned from speaking with colleagues at some of the main, and I'm sure you guys have too, from doing this show together, from some of the main Armenian lobby groups or advocacy groups, that essentially all those organizations are essentially now politically motivated, or bought out, if you will, in a lot of ways, by powerful nations like Turkey and oil-rich Azerbaijan. You guys, there's one other Armenian government representative or official that we haven't touched on that has also called for Pashinyan's recognition repeatedly since the end of the war.
Resignation.
Resignation since the end of the war, and that is the President Armen Sarkisian. His quote, saying, referring to what's happening with the protests and so on, he's called for Pashinyan. He's called for the resignation multiple times. He called for restraints by all forces, governing and opposition, warning that the country must not be taken on a road that can be irreversible consequences. His quote: "Today, today, when we not yet fully overcome the consequences of the war unleashed against Artsakh, when there are still thousands of dead and wounded, when there are serious regional threats, unfortunately, we once again find ourselves in a critical situation, which could lead to unpredictable consequences for our country."
Thank you.
The Armenian state.
What I want to say is
losses.
what I absolutely agree. Obviously, I mean, I'm still not understanding the intricacies of the Armenian government, because this is also a president of Armenia in clear opposition of the prime minister. although there's blood on his hand as well. We don't have to go into that. But yeah, if he can help us push this guy out, that will be step number one, maybe even zero.
Right.
What's happening to those that are listening here is there is a plan that's been put forth: capture of Shushi, capitulation of Armenia, but the plan hasn't been fully what do you call it, implemented. Okay, the territories that were given out just the other day, by the way, over a cup of tea. I remember, I'm a history buff. I love history, right? When the Germans were being asked to like move out of Czech Republic, the Sudeten land, right? Look at the time frame of them grabbing their stuff and moving out back into Germany. It wasn't 2 days. Like how fast we were asked to move, and our government was like, yeah, you gotta move. Well, that's the point. You gotta
Right.
move. There was no pushback. There's nothing. And now we have the other two things. I used to think that there isn't a threat, but there's a clear threat of losing Sunik and that building of that road through Armenia. Okay? So he is gonna hang on to power until those two items are said. And you're wondering, who is asking him to do that? Whoever his overlords are, because clearly he's no longer mine and your prime minister. I will argue this till I'm blue in the face.
Yeah, I mean,
You know?
it's scary and concerning to see what's happening, Greg. And there are things that point to that, or it's very plausible, right? We have to really, we
It's
have to
not possible at this point. It's becoming the only option, because it's either that or we got a mad lunatic in the White House or whatever the house,
Right.
Bagramian Street. So anyway,
Well, so
That's-
obviously, so let's I want to level set for a second and pivot to some things that we can that we were the other things we should report on. Obviously, there's a lot going on. This is an evolving situation. I hate to sound cliche, but my thoughts and my literal prayers are going to be for a transition of power and something that will give us some better vistas ahead. But it is also important for us to remind the viewers who are watching tonight who we are raising money for, and that
Yes.
is the Armenian Wounded Heroes Fund.
Thank
The first person to donate is going to be my hero tonight. So let's pivot to talking about the servicemen and women that are missing in action. Greg,
I absolutely. If I can have the 30 seconds more to add. The people that are pro Pashinyan right now, with the desire to state we cannot go back to the way it was with Kocharan and Ser Sarkisian, right? Ask yourself this question. We all three of us here were Dukhov. We were for the Velvet Revolution. Are you okay saying that with the loss of Sunik, with the loss of Artsakh? Is that how categorical you are? Because I will say right now, I'll go back to the way it was in Kocharan times. If we can regain some foothold in the livelihoods and the ability to not lose Sunik, because that's what we're looking at. So ask yourself that question, my dear Armenian fellows and friends that are really, really, really pro Pashinyan. There's one more person that kind of peeked his head into this entire debacle, and I think pretty much got it nose bloody today. It was the president Arach of Artsakh. Came in as the moderator. He wants to be the moderator between the army and the prime minister. And he met with the minister of defense today, and I think that guy punched him. I will confirm that, because the reality is that, please butt out of here. You have nothing to do here. What are you trying to essentially moderate? We all know you are a Pashinyan, pro Pashinyan guy. Okay.
I don't want to belabor this point, but I think this is what I want to say is a good cap to what you're talking about with the people who are concerned about going backwards. And we've talked about this in previous episodes, and that is that too many people in the diaspora, and I'm just, I don't make a whole lot of friends when I say things like this, but it's still the truth. I think that the diaspora is operating from a place that assumes that it has options, and we don't. Armenia does not have very many options to speak of. And so, David, when we were talking earlier about the Russians being, the ones holding up the dam, as far as I'm concerned, how much water do you guys need? How much you guys need an apple? You need some food? You need we need to take care of the people who are holding up the dam. And I wouldn't even care if those missile systems were from the 80s, which they're not. Because if that's what's going to protect us, great, awesome.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. They're not from the 80s, but well said, Rich. I mean, the
They're from
reliance on
2006.
Russia is a real thing. The thing is this, we've said this multiple times on this show. We could say it again. Being anti-Prussian or not being pro-Pashinyan right now versus during the Velvet Revolution, because of everything that's happened, does not mean we're anti-democracy. Does not mean we want to go back to the prior corrupt, horrible ways. We cannot speak for what it's like to live in Armenia and have to deal with what it was like before.
But you had an Armenia, is my point. That's
exactly.
My point.
Need to preserve that. We need to keep that. And right now, Russia's guaranteeing that security. They had been prior to that. And it has to get better very quickly. So,
and I think we've also talked about the fact that we, as a diaspora, and need to get more serious about how do we support the homeland? How do we
absolutely
keep contributing, not just with shows like this, but how do we not just inform people, but how do we put the rubber to the road? I mean,
absolutely.
Israel wasn't built overnight. It was built because a lot of people showed up there, and people have been saying there. And I think like the Israelis or not, there's a lesson to be learned about how to build a nation. I think we need to get hip with that. So that's all I'm going to say on that.
Great pivot to the people that contributed the most in the war, which is our heroes, our defenders, the people that are being actually attacked right now in the form of the defense ministry. Okay, because at the end of the day, what are you doing, bro? These are the people protecting the borders,
right?
So
the first thing I want to do is I want to show the Armenian Wounded Heroes Fund page. They are at armenianwoundedheroes.com. If you want to, you can click the donate link and donate directly from our page, or you can even go to their site and donate here. But the first article we have on this tonight is, Greg, you want to talk about this one?
Let me see. Yes, this was a bombshell of an article. So we are obviously always concerned about the amount of POWs we still have. POWs missing in action, just vanished without trace. That's the category that we're talking about. Whether they are held captive in Azerbaijan, we know for a fact Azerbaijan is now using our POWs, again, back to the OSCE Minsk group, the United Nations, all of these, Amnesty International. Why don't they use that as a rallying point?
UN Human Rights,
Human Rights Watch. No, they don't care about the POWs and the people that are being held in captive and tortured and used as pawns. Literally, there's a roadmap of they're saying that they're going to keep using these POWs as a way to negotiate which pieces of Armenia they're going to now start carving out. You know what I mean? Knowing that we have a drunk man behind the wheel. But yeah, it's a bombshell. 1,600 people currently are missing, captive, or unaccounted for. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's rally around that. Friends, colleagues, co-hosts.
It's awful.
The resume of failures on this administration's part, pick one. That's enough for you to resign. Okay?
Yeah, it's saying, this estimate is was made public by Varujan Avatikian, of the Military Servicemen's Insurance Fund. So it's the insurance fund for servicemen, the IFS. Just to share with you guys and the viewers, the Bay Area Artsakh Task Force Humanitarian Aid Committee is working directly with the IFS to bring the diaspora in to help. The IFS, what they do, they take 1,000 dirham a month from the Armenian employees, from those that work and live in Armenia. It's like a tax off their paychecks, and that goes directly to fund and help compensate families of missing families of injured or fallen soldiers. Okay, so that's where this estimate is coming from. This person is obviously very well connected in that regard, and is knowledgeable of what's going on. That number, like you said, Greg, was a bombshell. We were thinking it's in the hundreds maybe, but there's 1,600 servicemen that are considered missing in action, and 3,700 remains have reportedly been collected so far during the war. I mean, it's very gruesome, guys. Sorry, trigger warning. They're not sure how much of that overlaps. We're not sure how much of them are POWs. We're not sure how many of them are still, in the fields, have to be collected. Plus, on top of that, Azerbaijan has blocked and prevented the continual collection of the remains of fallen soldiers as well. How is that not being spoken about? So, anyway, I'm rambling and getting upset. So it's awful what's happening right now, and I don't know. We have to just keep making our voices heard, keep reaching out to our representatives, and keep trying to contact.
You guys, again, I'm on these, like, so there's this big thing that's now called Clubhouse. I'm really big, like, starting to get big into it. And there's these conversations around, like, what can we do? What can we do? What can we do? What can we do? Right? And in reality, all of us are in this bootstrappy mentality of, I can do by myself. Yeah, Richard, Greg, and David are doing something. But can you imagine if we had the backing of the Armenian government, if we had a direct, relationship? Pashinyan's sitting at the crossroads of all of the problems right now. It has been known and has been said that Aliyev and Erdogan are a little bit skeptical, nervous, and like afraid of what will happen, the tectonic shifts in the Armenian society, if this drunkard is going to be pushed aside. Because we can finally now go like, okay, stop, not an inch here, not an inch there. Can you imagine if we move a tank towards the road that's being harassed right now? There's nobody except for like militia. We are like slowly not a state because our military is not being utilized in its form of, in the way that it's supposed to be utilized. Right. We're being like slapped around, and this guy's talking about, crowd sizes again.
Yeah.
Reference to Trump and and anything but. How do you not wake up every morning and talk about the 1,600 missing? Like every day, you're the leader of a nation.
Exactly. Or the fact. Go ahead, Rich. Sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's no wonder we're getting pushed around because, the guy coming into power with thumbing his nose at Russia and trying to court the West, or at least in, the outward appearance of courting the West, and the West didn't care. West didn't care at all. Like America didn't care about Armenia. Matter of fact, America gave Azerbaijan more money and started dropping the money to Armenia. So in Armenia's effort to court the West, we lost, well, damn near everything. And what would it be like now? Again, I'm not trying to blow smoke up Putin's dress or anything, but again, Russia is the only thing helping Armenia right now. So what would it be like if we had a president who was like, listen, I don't care what kind of corruption issues you have over there, what kind of issues you would like. Right. How do we form a better partnership? How do we make a stronger Armenia?
Exactly. Politics, right? And then sadly, the former leadership, as corrupt as they were, they played that game with Putin and Russia, right, Greg? They played that game.
Yeah. I mean, I think Pashinyan currently, is Pashinyan convenient for Putin? Most probably. Does he respect Pashinyan? Absolutely not.
Not at all. No.
You know what I mean? Like, he'll use him for whatever. And yeah, I believe late last night there was some talks between him and Putin. I really don't know at this point what this scoundrel says when he calls world leaders.
Right. You guys, just to touch a little bit more on the Azerbaijan suspending the operations for retrieving the fallen soldiers or victims. Yeah. They suspended it. This is actually not the first time they've suspended the search operations. This is the first that they did not provide an explanation for why they halted the search. In the past, it's happened when they was halted due to ceasefire violations or explosions of landmines and poor weather. This is the first time since November that the search and rescue operations have been halted for such a long period of time. So it's unacceptable. And I feel like all efforts, to your point, Greg, need to be put on getting retrieving the bodies of those that have fallen, so that there could be closure on that, and getting the prisoners of war out of there. Another huge mistake on the agreement that was signed November 9th, again, is that there was no deadline specified for the release of prisoners of war.
Look, man, that agreement was essentially a very large Post-it note. That's all it was.
Yes, thank you, Richard. Thank you. Have you seen agreements? They're like binders. This was a paper with loosely written, and now you all as this, and you as this, and then last minute, like many things. Like I am.
Like it took longer to drive or fly it took longer to fly to Moscow than it did to write that thing up.
Yeah. And I really urge the Armenian nation from Yerevan to the diaspora to wake the F up.
Yeah,
first, this guy needs to go. Then we can, I don't know, figure out what's next.
Right.
You know what I mean?
According to azatatune.am, Greg, maybe you can comment on that source. They're saying that there's more than 100 other POWs believed to remain in Azerbaijani captivity. A total of 64 POWs and civilians have been freed to date, apparently, according to them. So perhaps the 1,600 refers to servicemen in particular, whereas POWs, that's what they're saying. It's still unacceptable. Those 100 need to be returned home. And there are people like Maro, like you said, that had just moved there from Lebanon and was on the road near Lachin and gets kidnapped. It's uncalled for, man. It's unacceptable.
Listen, I've never been in war. I hope to never be in war. I've never been in the military. I was raised with a very healthy respect for it, and I just can't understand how you don't know where your people are, or how many of them are gone.
Right?
Did you just drive a truck through a farm and say, "Hop on in, boys, we're going to go do something," and not even take account of who's coming? Like, I don't understand that. I would love for someone to educate me on how this happened, but
Russian ambassador to Armenia, Sergei Koprykin, insisted on Tuesday of this week, Moscow keeps doing its best to secure the release of all Armenian captives. And then of course, the Armenian president, Armen Sarkisian, just on Wednesday met with the commander of Russian peacekeeping forces in Artsakh, and they discussed it as well. So it's the Russian peacekeepers that are supposed to be brokering this. I believe the ICRC, the International Red Cross, is supposed to be helping as well. They're more focused, I believe, on retrieving bodies. But it's something that, this should be, to your point, Greg, of utmost urgency, because every single day that goes by is a day that there's likely could be less and less of these still living. Who knows what they're doing?
Horrible notion. Again, Russia at the center of this process. How dare you mouth off like that? He's gambling with us, guys. He's gambling with us.
Referring to Pashinyan. Yeah.
Pashinyan.
Yeah, guys, and I think we've all spoken offline in preparation for this. We're going to be doubling down on the POW situation as much as we can, as often as we can on the show and outside of the show, so that people are aware and we could try to take actions to impact what's happening there as much as we can.
David, did you want to talk about the Insurance Foundation for Servicemen?
Sure. Let's do that. Let's do that. Rich, thank you, man. The website there, it's 1000plus.am/en for English. It's very transparent. All of the staff of this, again, this insurance foundation is providing monetary compensation to the families of fallen and injured soldiers in Armenia. They have asked for the diaspora's help and support. It's believed that more than 7,500 soldiers have either perished or been injured in this war. And due to the high number of cases, as they call it, they are seeking the assistance of the diaspora. I actually signed up for it. I'm now paying, and actually you can do it. There's a link. I'll share it on here. There's a link that the Bay Area Artsakh Task Force has set up where anybody actually can go through PayPal through the Armenian Wounded Heroes Fund, who we're raising money for tonight. And you could set up monthly or one time, and that donation will be tax deductible because it's through Wounded Heroes. Otherwise, it would not be tax deductible if you do directly through IFS. Again, Armenians living in Armenia that work, it's a tax that is taken out of everyone's paycheck, 1,000 dirham every month. Greg, maybe you can, is that about $20 for us? No, less than that.
Yeah, it's like for 400 plus dirham to $1, so whatever that comes out to.
Yeah, it's not that much. We'd have to do that
at all. It's your Netflix subscription.
Yeah.
There you go. So anyway, guys, the encouragement is for us from the diaspora to do that. I'm doing $10 a month just to help because the need is so great over there. I'll put up that separate link. People can donate directly there to that. But thank you, Rich, for sharing that. It's all volunteer based. Nothing goes to overhead. It all goes directly to the families. And they are taking care of volunteer soldiers as well. The government is supposed to be doing that. So,
and so I just want to put a little bit of perspective on this. Not only is this really easy to do, it's the cost of a couple lattes a month, but it is also, I mean, let's be realistic about who we're talking about. We're talking about an entire generation of Armenian young men who have been cut down in their prime. And we're talking about the future velocity of the building of this small nation, right? You know, sometimes when just to, again, put this in perspective, when we talk about the Armenian genocide, you know, the classic Armenian genocide that you know happened around 1915 and prior to, and we put it in terms of 1.5 million people. Some people go, well, yeah, but you know, the Jews and the Poles and they lost 6 million. Yeah, but 1.5 million of 2.5 million is a lot, right? So when we look at, you know, 8,000 men, young men and women who are gone, that's a significant portion of this, you know, of this new generation of young Armenians. And so it's a big deal to try and take care of.
It really is, guys. 1,000 dirham is $2.08 US dollars. So, you know, again, you could do as much as little as you want. It could be monthly. They're encouraging monthly, so it's a continuous stream. So
that's great.
Yeah.
So just to give you apples, no, I'm not going to use that word. In the entirety of the last war, 20,000 Armenian servicemen were wounded, 6,000 died. That's the one that spanned from 88 to 92, guys.
Right.
That goes to what Richard just said in terms of the scale of what just happened to us.
Yeah, I mean, technology, what we were up against, we weren't prepared. You know, and the drone.
I will fight back on what you just said. Number one is the leadership. I'm sorry.
Sure. Of course. You know, the technology has changed quite a bit, though, right? In terms of what we were up against. Absolutely, Greg. Absolutely.
One day, I promise our viewers and future viewers and those that are following us, we will do a deep dive on the loss of Shushi, just on that one aspect of the war. Because, you know, we talk conceptually and we talk about like this news item, that news item, but it's important to like pause and focus in on something. And that'd be a great eye opener. How? And what I would like to do is just through the things we know, not speculations like, oh, I think this is just what we know happened, build out that campaign of how Shushi is no longer with us, ending with our Varchapet saying twice now, once in an interview and once in the parliament, that Shushi was never Armenian to begin with. Okay? So I'm just...
Yeah, again, to deflect and justify it, right, Greg? Pushing
to save his skin, it's too like, you guys are the guy's scum, man.
Yeah. Greg, there was one other news item out of Armenia not related to the war. Should we touch? Would you like to touch on that? It's something from actually,
absolutely, yeah. And then we can wrap on that.
Right, Greg?
Yeah.
Like when Arach Media first started, I believe we were talking about this back in 2016, right, Greg? I believe.
Absolutely. Let's see here.
How do you say it? Pronounce it much better.
Which one?
The
Sasnat Tzedek. Yes, obviously
Yes.
all the members of Sasnat Tzedek today have been arrested. They've been arrested. The court announced its verdict, and many of them, I think the average sentence was 7 years.
Why don't you recap about what this is about?
Yeah, real quick.
Sasnat Tzedek was an incident, right? The Sasnat Tzedek is a group of political activists, former military leaders, former war heroes that fought in the first war, that essentially captured a police precinct as a way to kind of protest the arrest of one of their leaders, Giray Sefelian, as well as the what do you call it? Kind of the spotlighting on the political stalemate in a country under Ser Sarkisian. Yeah, that resulted in the death of 3 police officers, and eventually, obviously the situation was diffused. Nikol Pashinyan arose to prominence of spotlight during that time. He was that guy that would run away. That's actually when the Volvo Revolution happened that I was very skeptical about the man, because I was watching how he was a major opportunist. It was then, I believe, that the major powers from within, externally in Armenia, saw him as a possibility of who could be. Because don't forget, Rafi Ovanesyan was another contender against the Armenian regime. Sorry, I'm going off tangent here, but it gives us an ability to kind of look in the past.
Yeah.
So I guess my question would be then, I don't mean to be speaking out of turn, and I don't mean to be bringing up anything that is unsubstantiated, but what I'm hearing is that if it turns out that Pashinyan has been, an asset, or at least, a useful tool, huh?
Mm-hmm.
I liken this story to the Russians taking 20, 30 plus years in messing with in basically grooming Donald Trump to become the kind of like bulldozer that he was to the American system. Pashinyan may have been not necessarily by the Russians, but you know what I'm saying. He could have been groomed in a much shorter time frame, is what I'm saying, is what I'm getting.
Richard, we are entering an area which, first of all, agree with you. Second of all, we're entering this arena that I like to stay away from, called what do you call it?
Yeah. I'm just
No. Don't. I'm not speaking away against you. What I'm saying is, without clues that we will eventually have once the man is ousted, it does seem a little bit conspiracy theory, but I would have to agree. So I'm going to say that we don't have the facts, but yes, there are external forces. Pashinyan is not the mastermind here. There are external forces that are definitely interested in this man currently staying in power, that are outside of the diaspora or anything else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the money's coming. The money's coming from elsewhere right now.
Yeah, I mean, the easy way of putting it is saying, where there's smoke, there's probably fire.
Right.
But we don't know. We don't know. But it does shade to some very peculiar things.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that it would be so willingly. Well, I guess willingly we don't know, but like it seems that way, right? The capitulation would just happen like that. And just to close the loop on the Sasna Serej, the shortest sentence of the guys, Edward Grigorian, 6 years, 6 months. The longest, Sedral Nazarian, 8 years, 2 months. And like you said, Greg, the rest are about 7 years and some change. That closes that whole thing with those guys. Yeah.
All righty. We're 5 minutes away from our intended closing of the conversation. Thank you to the viewers that are watching us. Right, we haven't raised. There were no funds raised today, but we thank you for your
we still have some time. We still have
you
some time.
joining us. Anything else? I mean, this is a tense situation, guys. I really, 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 yeah, I hope for a resolution and soon. And we'll keep you posted. We will obviously pay close attention to what's happening in Armenia. Thank you to the listeners that have been watching, to those that are going to be watching. We never address the folks that are watching later, as this
Right.
technology permits. So when you're listening to us tomorrow, or rewatching, or just listening via, just the sound bites, thank you for your support. Thank you for your interest, and thank you for being interested enough to educate yourself. We are a global diaspora. Sometimes we just don't know, and what's happening right now in Armenia is really, really tense, troubling, and I feel, my thing is, I feel that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, which is very weird to say. We've been through a lot, but this man has no low point. You will see he's gonna drag us through some more things.
Well, yeah,
This is more.
still
This is
happening.
more than, guys. This is like, let's say you are right now a Pashinyan supporter. Isn't this more than enough for even you to be like, yeah, dude, you need to stand down, man. You've messed up on so many levels.
Yeah, because because it's hard to say, oh, we need to stay unified and not get rid of the person that's creating the bulk of the lack of unity. I
Yeah.
want to give a shout out to Arach Media. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for donating. Arach, you're my hero.
Thank you, Ara, and I believe he's one of the most active on our thread. Thank you so much
Absolutely.
for your participation, involvement, and support. Man.
Yeah. Arach and I go back as far as I go back with YouTube.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
Ara and I had a good what do you call it, exchange the other day about what we think about the political situation in Armenia and how it's being reported and who are the reporters. Guys, such a small nation, so many things are tugging away at it. Only we can support it, meaning we, the Armenians that care. Today, somebody posted, "I believe the soldiers." Okay, I believe the soldiers. Also, nationalism is a dirty word in the West because of this globalist movement, right? Not when it comes to the Armenian identity. To be an Armenian nationalist means that you want to survive. Okay, so I believe the soldiers, and I don't care if I sound nationalistic when I say I believe in our nation and I want it to survive,
Of
because
course.
the people in power right now, I don't know what they want. They want to what? They want to be owned by Turkish money. It's insane.
Yeah.
You take your Godiva chocolate and shove it.
Godiva,
Anyway,
Godiva, no longer
Yeah.
Belgian.
yeah, no
Beyond,
longer.
it's beyond concerning, Greg. Beyond.
All right, 2 minutes.
So
Yeah.
couple things before we wrap. Obviously, I'm going to put in the links, even though we're not talking about it. There's movement on from the Armenian Assembly and from the ANCA. So I'm going to ask that people read them. We'll have to individually promote, and we'll also there are some call to action. Please keep participating. Look, I don't believe that our grandparents survived what they survived in order to get us to a place where we're just not going to participate in the government that we have elected or that is available to us. Those of us who get to live in America are explicitly privileged, and if you aren't trying to save the Armenian nation while living in this country,
Right.
I don't know that I even want to interact with you. So please
Well said.
some pressure on your representatives. We're going to put links up not only to the Armenian Assembly but also the ANCA and also to our own link tree from Arach Media, where we have a lot of links cultivated for you. So
Exactly. Yeah, the main issues right now that are being focused on, reaching out to Congress and your representatives about the human rights violations and prisoners of war, so that there's more action taken in condemning Turkey and Azerbaijan and calling for their freedom, as well as calling for more humanitarian assistance by the U.S. To Armenia and Artsakh following this war. Those are advocacy efforts.
one more big item that actually I just read, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna interject, and then we can leave. It's because it's huge. So obviously,
leave.
um, so today, this is kind of huge. Today, after kind of rejecting Governor Newsom's rejection of clemency and parole, the California Supreme Court is allowing Hampik Harry Sasunyan to be released from prison, who has been serving in said prison since 1981 for the assassination of a Turkish consul general. Interesting point to make here to the Armenian nation as a connector of the generation that passed to the generation of today. Was that an act of murder? Sure it was, but it was pointed at the at a government that perpetuated a genocide, right? This is where we were. This is kind of the dotted line connecting that incident to Soho Montelerian doing what he needed to do.
That's right.
Dude, if we like line item this as a cut and dry, was Soho Montelerian a murderer? Sure, if the world is black and white. Okay.
Give everyone context on who that is.
Yeah,
Greg?
please, because that's a good.
Soho Montelerian was the young man that saw his entire family murdered during the genocide, and then followed part of the Operation Nemesis. Followed Talat Pasha, the brain behind the Armenian genocide, and killed him in Germany in plain sight. Then stood there waiting for the cops to show up to arrest him. And Harry Sasunyan was part of another wave in the United States, a generation of Armenians knowing that the world is not listening, and that should be also a little bit of a foreshadowing for the world that is trying to gaslight us, for our men and women and children dying at the hands of Azeris. You're pushing us against the wall again. You're pushing us against the wall. And what happens is what happened there. And it's very cool. Yeah, I'm I flip-flopped on this issue. I do not care. Yes, the man served his time. The Supreme Court of California said it's okay for him to, he has been rehabilitated. And it's time for him to just live out his life at home or with his friends. That's it. That's all I wanted to say. Sorry. I know, we should have kumbaya'd before I said that. But it's big.
Okay.
It's big. Thank you all.
All right, so no, not a thank you all. Let's remind everybody we're going to be on Thursdays for the next few weeks until the end of Lent. And so we're going to be, is it 9 or 9:30?
I think 9, or if that's, I think we'll be 9 going forward if that works for you guys.
Absolutely. 9 is fine. 9 is a good time.
Okay.
All right, we're 3 minutes over.
9 p.m. Thursdays for the duration of Lent. Arach Media live on Facebook. Please, when you see the notifications, watch, and then naturally, organically, share it if you can, because this is a grassroots effort. This is a very ad hoc thing that we're doing. We do not buy advertising space. We do not ask you for money. We donate our time because we love our nation. We hope that you will keep supporting us. So
thank you all.
Buy people to like the page, as well. Yeah, thank you.
All righty.
All right. We
Guys.
good?
Yeah, we are good. Thank you.
Signing off.
Guys, good night.